listening to Combat Sports UK.
Combat Sports UK.
Shama, it is UFC 313 fight week. It's Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev. Myself and Dan are back to give our picks here. Dan, do you think it's Pereira's hardest fight yet coming up here this weekend?
Definitely 100%. Ankalaev is by far his toughest test at light heavyweight, and even from his days at middleweight. Ankalaev is definitely the toughest test for this man, but we will be picking it and see if he comes through it. And if he does, hey, look, heavyweight might be around the corner for him.
You do wonder what's next if he does get the hand raised, but he's got a very, very tough fight ahead of him against Ankalaev. I'll let you kick us off with your pick for this one. Where are you going?
Well, in the main event, I think it will be Alex Pereira retaining his belt. I can't pick against this man from the things I've seen him do in this octagon ever since he's joined the UFC. He's become one of the biggest stars in the sport, and rightly so. He's by far one of the most explosive strikers and by far one of the best strikers in the division, and the wins on his resume just keep stacking up. Ankalaev himself is, like we've said, it's a really, really tough fight for him. It's one of the most well-rounded guys he's fought, especially in the UFC. And for Ankalaev, if Ankalaev was fighting another person that was not named Alex Pereira, I'd probably be picking Ankalaev because I think he beats everyone else in this division, unless they're called Alex Pereira. I think Alex Pereira is, unfortunately, he's a striking demigod. He's unbelievable, but I don't know if he gets the finish here. I think it could be a case where Ankalaev is too tough for his own good. Ankalaev's not been finished in the UFC. He's only got one loss on his record. Well, I say he's not been finished in the UFC. I do keep forgetting. Paul Craig, of course, pulls out that submission. But yeah, apart from that, Ankalaev is not someone that you've seen getting hammered and smashed. The only way I've seen him in real trouble has been that Blachowicz fight, where he got to that weird draw decision. Those leg kicks from Blachowicz were really, really devastating and really played a part in Blachowicz picking up rounds in that fight. So that's a real key area. And someone like Alex Pereira, leg kicks, I mean, he could do them whilst he's sleeping. He's a master of them. But with him being a southpaw, it's whether Pereira can work that out. I believe he can. I believe the calf is going to be a real key weapon for him. But again, a finish for Pereira, I mean, me backing against a Pereira finish, it's it's a bit of a rarity. But no, I think Ankalaev is going to fare well. He will pick up rounds. I think it won't be. It's not going to be a whitewash. I can't see like a Leon Edwards performance where he just outpoints him and outclasses him for 5 rounds and 50-45s him. Could see a bit back and forth. Ankalaev will wrestle. I think all this talk of no, I'm just going to strike.
Do you think it's bullshit?
He's got to be lying. I mean, someone at some point
It would be
has
silly.
to have.
It would be silly not to, wouldn't it?
Someone has to have the intelligence to wrestle with Alex Pereira. Ankalaev, I think, will do that. I think he will have some grapple heavy rounds. Now, those will be the rounds he picks up. I think Alex Pereira is going to unload too much damage in those other rounds. You may look at a 48-47, 3 rounds to 2 Alex Pereira decision. That's what I'm going to go for this weekend at UFC 313.
I don't think there'll be too many picking Alex Pereira for a decision. I think they'll be going the same way I'm going. Alex Pereira KO. I think it's going to be late on. As I said at the start, I agree with you. This is Alex Pereira's hardest fight yet. I think Ankalaev will pick up rounds, but I just think trying to avoid that left hook. The fact Ankalaev is fighting in southpaw, it does kind of, the left hook might not be as impactful because the kind of shoulder and the arm are blocking it because he will be in southpaw. But I think Alex Pereira will find a way through, maybe in round 4, round 5, in the championship rounds after kind of making reads throughout the fight. So that's my pick. I'm going for a round 4 Pereira KO. Moving on to the co-main event, obviously this was meant to be Dan Hooker fighting Justin Gaethje. That was a fight I think we were all buzzing for. It isn't to be. We have got a good replacement in Rafael Fiziev. Of course, it is a rematch. These guys fought in March 2018, actually at UFC London. So it is a rematch. Justin Gaethje got the hand raised last time. My kind of lasting memory of that before the rematch was announced and I've rewatched the fight was that Justin Gaethje won this fight easy. He did win it, but it was a lot closer than what I actually thought it was. One judge actually gave it a draw. He won a majority decision. It was a lot closer than what I thought it was. I'll kick us off with the pick for this one. I think it goes pretty much the same way as last time. I think Justin Gaethje gets a decision win. Rafael Fiziev has been very inactive. It's been 18 months since he was in there, and we're seeing it more often now. Fighters kind of coming in and looking really, really stale the first couple of rounds after being out for so long. It does play a factor. And so Jamal Hill was actually talking about it, and that's why he's got a fight announced so quickly again against Khalil Rountree, because he says the inactivity, he feels it did affect him. So ring rust is a thing. Dominic Cruz said it wasn't, but I do think it is, and I think the evidence kind of shows that it is as well. And I think it's going to hit Rafael Fiziev as well. Justin Gaethje obviously hasn't been overly active either. And did you see that clip floating about the different angle of the UFC 300 KO? Did you? It was a bit freaky, wasn't it?
It was.
Of course, I knew he got knocked out cold and he got knocked out bad, but I didn't realise just how bad it was until I seen that clip. So that is playing at the back of my mind. It is hard to get over a KO loss like that. Taking an absolute brutal one like that. But I think Justin Gaethje does it. I think he has a point to prove here. I think he goes out. He was in really good form until Max Holloway knocked him out too. Obviously the win against Dustin Poirier, the first win against Rafael Fiziev, both really good wins. I think we kind of see that old form that Justin Gaethje had, and he gets a decision win on this one.
Definitely. I think this is a fight when we saw the conclusion of the first fight. It was one where we were immediately like, when are we going to see this again? Because it was such a good fight. I remember it being in London, and it was amazing. It was one of the best co-main events we had in the UK for a UFC event. It was really, really good. The first round was unbelievable from Rafael Fiziev. He really, really came out like a bull. He was absolutely so impressive in that first round, but then faded, and you saw Gaethje then picking up the later two rounds, which sort of led towards that decision. I think I do agree with you. I think Gaethje does pick up a decision here. Now, I think it leans into the fact of the short notice. Rafael Fiziev, like you mentioned, 18 months out of the octagon is not something
It's a long time.
we've wanted to see. It's someone that I think everyone's had a Raphael Fiziev itch that they've been meaning to scratch, and we've just been waiting and waiting and waiting for him to come back. I don't think this is a chance to do it. I think stepping in now at, what was it, 2-3 weeks notice, barely. It's a tough one. And he's not stepping in against, he's stepping in against Justin Gaethje, a man who was beaten him previously, a man who is devastating on the feet and can grapple. However much we don't see it, but he can grapple very well. I think we may see it this fight. Again, we say this for every good Justin Gaethje fight. He may wrestle this time. He could do it. I think Justin Gaethje, with that knockout, that horrific knockout against Max Holloway, he's in a bit of a tough situation. If he does lose here to Fiziev, I've seen him talk about it. Retirement is he's staring him right in the face. I think so for Gaethje, maybe looking at this could be a last chance for another rebound towards a title of some sort, whether it be a BMF. I don't see it in Islam matchup for him anytime soon. But hey, if he wins in dramatic fashion, maybe. But I think I got Gaethje by decision purely on the fact that Fiziev's coming 18 months off is such a long time in this game. And again, on the two-week notice against someone like Justin Gaethje, it's just not enough time to sharpen those tools. What I would like to see from Fiziev, if it isn't a terrible beating that he gets here on this weekend, I'd like to see Fiziev back out within the next 2 months. I'd like him to regain some activity, and then we could see the best of Fiziev again towards maybe the end of the year. But I think coming 18 months off to then have a 2-week notice step up, I just don't think it bodes well. I can see Gaethje pulling through here with a decision.
Yeah, and I think the fact that it's 3 rounds as well, actually, I think it kind of suits Gaethje for some
Yeah,
reason. I think he can grind out a win for 3 rounds, whereas the
yeah,
longer it goes, you do start to think, does Rafael Fiziev kind of, once he's in a couple of rounds, once he feels the pace, he gets settled in, he might start
yeah,
performing a bit better. But I think 3 rounds, I'm saying a quick 15 minutes. 15 minutes is a long time to be in there, but I think
yeah,
it's short enough for Gaethje to be able to sort of win the rounds, and
yeah,
it's not long enough for Rafael Fiziev to kind of find his flow. So I think
exactly.
we're both agreeing on this one that Justin Gaethje is going to get a decision win, the same as last time. Jalen Turner taking on Bahamondes then. This is an interesting one. Jalen Turner finally fighting someone who is the same height. Both these guys are 6'3", both monsters. I wouldn't even say monsters, both really, really linky for the lightweight division. Turner hasn't fought similar to or the same as Justin Gaethje since UFC 300. That loss over Monte Moicano where he was completely winning the first round. Tried to get the walk-off KO and then obviously didn't get the KO and then Moicano came back and won. Bahamondes picked up a performance in the night bonus at UFC 306 in the Sphere. This has warranted him a chance here to get into the rankings against Jalen Turner. Who's your pick for this one?
I've always had a soft spot for Bahamondes. I think it's the variety of knockouts on his
He could be the
resume.
highlight reel. We were just talking about Justin Gaethje, but Bahamondes has a
Genuinely.
shout to be the highlight reel as well.
I mean, if Michael Venom Page was Chilean and 6'3", he would be Bahamondes. Bahamondes he's an absolute wizard with the kicks. He's unbelievable. It's such a good matchup with the heights for the both pair of them, 6'3". It is going to look like a welterweight fight. It's going to look a bit bigger than lightweight, but yeah, if I got Bahamondes in this fight, I've liked him throughout his career in the UFC. I think he's been unlucky in some decisions that he's had. I think the Ludovic Klein loss, I think was a close one. I think his John McDessie loss again was a tough one. With someone like Bilal Muhammad in your corner, you have championship mentality there. That's going to make you always better. So I think he's coming off a great win in the Sphere, a massive event, and he turns up with a round one finish. I mean, it's not going to get much bigger than the Sphere when it comes to it. I know we're on an Alex Pereira card here, UFC 313, but the Sphere is one of the biggest events the UFC has ever put on, and he showed up under lights and he performed. So that really does show for me that Bahamondes has the minerals, especially to get into this top 15 and possibly even make a push towards the top of the division. But someone like Jalen Turner, again, that loss again at UFC 300 has haunted him, not really for the defeat itself, but online. I mean, the countless times I've seen people taking the piss out of Jalen Turner for that walk-off KO that never happened. Moicano is, he's a phenom now with this Manny Moicano style. So I think for Jalen Turner, it's been a tough, almost a year or so now to the date. He's going to want to come back with a vengeance, but I mean, his form recently, what's he, 1-3 in his last four? It's been a tough road for him. Bahamondes could possibly put the nail in his ranking spot here and send him out of the rankings, and I think that is going to happen. Now, for that to happen, I'm expecting Bahamondes to put on a real clinic. Round 3, I've got him finishing Jalen Turner, and by all means, we welcome a Chilean into the top 15 at lightweight. And look, we want to see. I would say light heavyweight only because he's 6'3", but no, he's top 15 for Bahamondes is next. And the fight's end. Hey, look, if Fiziev loses, Bahamondes Fiziev, imagine that in 3 months' time. We could see a great fight there. I think you've got something slightly different.
One round different,
Oh,
and going Bahamondes round 2. Everything that you said rings true, and I think it's quite interesting because of the height of these guys. We're so used to seeing Bahamondes and Jalen Turner against shorter
yeah,
guys, but I think in terms of style, I think Bahamondes is maybe a bit more suited to fighting a taller opponent. Maybe he's a bit better in the
yeah,
pocket. Jalen Turner would be quite. You can tell Jalen Turner is very rangy by the way he fights, where sometimes Bahamondes does like getting a bit dirty and does like getting it
yeah,
into a scrap. But I think Bahamondes gets it done. It's a hard enough pick, don't get me wrong. It's
yeah,
not a 100% confidence pick because looking at the opposition, Jalen Turner, he's been in there with a lot better fight years than what Bahamondes is. He's used to being in and around these rankings. But for Bahamondes, he's the guy on form right now.
yeah.
Out of these two fighters, he's in a 4-fight win streak, I think. Is it? No.
I think so. I think there might be a draw in there or a no
Yeah,
contest maybe.
he's on much, much better form than Jalen Turner. As you said, he's
Yeah,
won 1 out of his last 4. So that's why I'm going to Bahamondes round 2 finish, and I think he gets another one in that highlight reel that we were just talking about. Now, the female fight on this card, or on the main card, Amanda Lemos taking on Yasmin Lucindo. This is going to be a good one. This is a good fight. The interesting thing about this is Lucindo is 14 years younger than Amanda Lemos, but has more experience. she has been fighting since she was no age. Like, how does she have that kind of record? How does she have that many fights at the age of 23? She was born in
Yeah,
she was born in 2002. That is absolutely crazy. Lucindo, similarly as I said before, she's on a 4-fight win streak. She is the woman on form. Amanda Lemos coming off a loss to Jan Daruba, which Jan Daruba's at the top of that division right now, so there's no shame in that one. I'm going to go for a Lucindo decision win here. And the reason I think is because the striking's 50-50. It's kind of on the feet. Amanda Lemos will do well. But I think Yasmin Lucindo just has more in the arsenal. She's a bit more grappling in the arsenal than what Lemos does, or so we've seen anyway. So I think she'll be able to mix it up. I think she'll be able to win rounds on the feet and win rounds on the grappling. Amanda Lemos might get around here or there. Well, but I just think I don't know. I just think Yasmin Lucindo is gonna edge this one out. It is a hard one. It would go back and forth.
hmm
It's one of them ones where, we've seen
yeah,
Amanda Lemos in there with the best of the division. Obviously Wei Li Zhang got her win over her and stuff. So she has been in there with a lot better opponents. But Yasmin Lucindo, the young, in form fighter with all the momentum, similar to Bahamondes, as we said before. I think it's the young and hungry fighter here that gets the win. So I'm
yeah.
going to go a decision. I don't think she gets a finish. Amanda Lemos is hardy. She's got that sort of style about her where she can be quite difficult to finish. She's got that grit and determination, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get the win. So Lucindo decision for me.
Yeah, I think I've gone the same as you. It's unfortunately form that's the one of the main things that comes to this. Lucindo is in far better form. Lemos, that defeat to January was disappointing one. An armbar submission loss. I mean, going into that fight with January, she just come off an amazing fight with Mackenzie Dern. I think he picked up fight of the night at UFC 298, which was a great card itself. So she was coming into it in a good bit of momentum, but running into someone like Jandiroba, and there's a clear striking, you know, benefit there for Lemos, and she still wasn't able to get her out of there, get her striking going in that fight, and still unfortunately suffered a submission defeat. So it's for Lemos. I think it's coming down the mountain, and now that's not necessarily to do with her being 37 years of age, and we always mention age when it comes to lower weight divisions, but. Lemos at 37, I mean, we could be looking at possibly the end of a career here. And Lucindo at 23 years of age, we're at the very beginning. I know you mentioned the experiences in favor of Lucindo, but 23 years of age, she'll be coming into this, as you said, hungry, on form. She can see the chance to scalp someone here who has been in with the top of the division, the champion of the division. Of course, unfortunately, suffered a really dominant defeat to the champion. But if Lucinda can go out there, if she can finish it, that's even better for her because Whaley, I think we've mentioned on previous shows, is out to contenders. You need someone to come in, and if we've got a young, hungry Brazilian at 23 years of age who's ran through everyone, then by all means, she'll be looking at a title shot quite very soon, possibly towards the end of the year. If we don't see Whaley jumping up to flyweight, that would be something possibly in the future. But yeah, for Lucindo, a decision is my pick. A finish itself, she could be looking at a title shot next.
Yeah, definitely. As you say, someone like that, young Brazilian, 23 years old. She's had 22
Yeah,
fights at the age of 23. I think that's absolutely mental. A shocking amount of experience. We can see her
yeah,
about these rankings for a long, long time, and especially if she gets the one here. And it's kind of one of them ones as well. Even if she doesn't get the one here, I'm
yeah,
pretty confident we'll see her back in these kind of
yeah.
opportunities again, just because of how young she is. But we're both in agreement on that one. We are both going for a Yasmin Lucindo decision win. So Mauricio Ruffy taking on Bobby King Green. I'm not even allowed to say Bobby, or you're not meant to say Bobby anymore. Just King
No,
Green.
I know.
Um, this is the third lightweight fight on this main card, so it's pretty lightweight stacked. Mauricio Ruffy, obviously, last time out against James Longtop, it was a convincing win, and I think James Longtop really showed a lot of heart and determination to kind of get through it. But it was a convincing win. I think everyone was kind of expecting the same performance or the same finish that we seen in the debut from Mauricio Ruffy.
Yeah.
This is a good step up an opponent here against Bobby Green.
hmm Definitely. I think for Ruffy, like you, the long top performance is one that unfortunately was more so at the end of the fight, you were all talking about how tough James Lontop is.
Yeah,
Now that's sort of shows that Ruffy really should have got him out of there. The level of James Lontop, the toughness. Unfortunately, if you're talking about toughness, it's not really about skill. That if you're talking about toughness before skill, it sort of shows the level that you're at. And James Lontop, I don't think is UFC level. King Green is definitely UFC level. So Maurizio Ruffy is definitely facing a step up in opponent here. Now, obviously, King Green is coming off that defeat to Paddy Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett knocked him out, submitted him, armbarred him, arm triangled him, all in the same, in the same 10 seconds. So it was a rough one
submission
for
of
him.
the year for the
Oh,
Combat Sports UK MMA Awards for
it
2024, by the way.
was, yeah, it was really, really a coming out party for Paddy Pimblett. Unfortunately, King Green was on the receiving end of it. But he's always been in great fights. I do think he's going to put manners on Maurizio Ruffy, but Maurizio Ruffy is someone who's in an excellent gym, one of the most informed gyms in the world. And I think form from your friends, from your colleagues, from I mentioned earlier with Bahamondes having Bilal in his corner, that's only going to breed confidence. I think Ruffy picks up a decision here. It may be a split one. We may be talking about judging after the fight, but I think Ruffy does pick up a decision. And I think it could be looking at fight of the night. I know that's odd to say with someone like Gaethje versus Fiziev on the card, but Bobby Green, I think not Bobby, King Green he's far too tough for his own good. So I think Ruffy's gonna really come back at him. I think Ruffy can get the win. A finish would be great for him because that long top decision unfortunately doesn't look too great, even though it was a dominant performance. But I think it's going to be a decision for Ruffy. King Green's far too tough for his own good. We could be looking at a very close fight, split decision either way, 29-28, I reckon. Ruffy is the one who gets the nod, though.
I think Ruff is going to get a finish. Everything you've said there, like, you know, you could look at it and say he couldn't finish James Lontop. How's he going to finish Bobby King Grin?
Yeah,
But I think the fact that he didn't finish Lontop might sort of because he was very. It's not that he was conservative in that fight.
no,
His output wasn't massive. He wasn't really, and James Lontop kind of made for that as well because he wasn't throwing a massive amount back himself. In round three, he did end up coming into the fight and throwing a good bit at Mauricio Ruffy. But I think Bobby King Green, for the time this fight goes, he's going to stand on the fight and he's going to want to engage and he's going to trade. He's not going to sort of lie down and be that guy that's just going to be seen for his toughness after. He won't be happy
yeah,
with that.
hmm
I think he's going to try and sort of go out on his shield. And I think that's going to leave openings and opportunities for Mauricio Ruffy to counter. And his countering is out of this world in typical sort of fighting nerds fashion. So I think he gets the finish in round three after a great back and forth. As you said, fight of the night, I think is definitely in with a shout. For Mauricio Ruffy, a finish here looks unbelievably well. And it really sort of, not that it rights the wrongs from the long top, because
hmm
I really did outclass James Lontop. It looked
yeah,
I was a man against the boy really in terms of levels and class, but it was just the fact that the debut had so much hype around it. He should be
yeah.
really finishing someone at James Lontop's level. So I think he comes out here, and I think he's very very keen to get a finish, and I think he does get that in round three. Looking forward to this one. It's a decent enough card. It's not the most stacked main card we've ever seen. It's
hmm
nothing in comparison to UFC 314 in Miami, which is
Yeah.
going down. Obviously, that was announced here just a couple of weeks ago. It's on a completely different level in comparison to this one. Make sure that you enjoy the fights this weekend, wherever you're watching them at, and come back to the channel on Monday or Tuesday. We will be doing a review of the fights. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we will see you in the next video.
You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
Combat Sports UK.